So, what inspired Pia's Pet Club?
So this is my second series for children that I've written. And when I'm writing my books, I try and think about the things that are relatable to young children. I try and think about what it's like to be that age and the things that feel important when you're that age, and how we feel about our family and our friendships and all of those sorts of things. So I'm always starting from that sort of point of view. And we had a conversation with my publisher about a book that had some pets in it. And my first series had always had animals in it as part of the kind of adventures that the character was going on. So this was kind of a natural progression, I guess. And at the same time, my son was trying to persuade me that we should have a pet at home. We'd already had some goldfish, we'd already had a hamster, and he was kind of really determined that we should have a bigger pet. And so he was doing his research, he was making me PowerPoint slides, he was showing me programs on the telly, he always had lots of facts, and he was doing his homework. And eventually we gave in, and we now have 2 ragdoll cats. And this all was happening around the same time that I was developing this idea about a book that had pets in it. And it just occurred to me, that there's so many children who probably want pets, but for one reason and another are not allowed to have a pet. So that was where the idea was born from, really. And the fact that Pia has to, she's frustrated, it's the only thing she really wants, but she's not allowed. And so she sort of has to get a bit creative. So that she can spend time around pets. And that's how these friendships are sort of come about, that she makes friends with children who do have pets. And, they kind of form a little club of their own, and she tries to help them with their pet problems. And she realises, along the way that it's not so easy to look after pets. They're a bit unpredictable, and they kind of do their own thing when they want to. So, yeah, so some real life inspiration, and really just trying to think about how it feels to be a kid, I guess.
Were pets a big part of your own childhood?
No, actually. I think growing up, I think in South Asian culture, it wasn't really something I saw, families with pets indoors. I knew the odd family that had a dog, but, that was it really. And so I never grew up with any pets in our house, and neither did any of my other sort of extended family. So and I think that's changing a little bit. I meet more and more young readers who are getting cats and dogs and other pets. So yeah, it was interesting to explore.
So why did you choose a South Asian main character for your story?
So all of my books have South Asian main characters, and it's something that's really important to me, because I sort of grew up in an era where there weren't really any books that had South Asian main characters, and definitely not funny books. I think, funny books are so important for young readers. They're often the books that get children into reading. And I never came across it. I loved funny books. I loved comics. I read everything I could get my hands on growing up, but I never really had that experience of seeing myself in a book. And I think that's really powerful. I think, when you see a character who's like you in a book, it gives you a sense of it's empowering, it's validating, you feel a sense of belonging. It's so powerful for our young people. And I think it's really important that we show all different representations of family life, of friendships, of our characters, culture, music, food, all the things that make us who we are. I think it's so important for children to have that in books.
Okay. So what makes Pia such a special character for you?
I think she's very determined. Quite often, I think this is kind of a running theme in my books, actually. My female characters are very determined, and they're very focused. When they get their minds onto something, they're quite stubborn about it, and they won't give up. And she's just, she's always trying to do the right thing. She might not always get it right, but she's always trying. And, she tries to be a good friend. She wants to be a responsible pet owner. And she's a reflection of of a normal kid. She's got the same frustration. She makes the, mistakes. She has flaws. She's not perfect by any means, but she's trying her best.
Can I say like it's a kind of reflection of yourself in a kid version?
Maybe, yeah. I think as writers, we write what we know, and we definitely borrow from people we know, from ourselves. And as I say, I'm always trying to put myself in the mind of the reader and of the children that are going to be reading these books, and think about what would feel real to them, what would feel relatable. So yeah, I definitely think, I feel like I'm quite in touch with my inner child. I don't know if that's always a good thing, but I definitely kind of can see it through Pia's eyes. So there's definitely some of me in there.
So, how do you hope children feel when they read this book?
I hope they feel entertained. I hope they think Pia's journey is funny and relatable and meaningful. I hope it's hopeful for them. And that it just kind of brings a little bit of joy, really. That's all I'm ever trying to do, I guess, is write books that readers will enjoy, that they'll find something in, that whether it be that they see themselves in it, whether they use the book as a window to learn something new. I just hope it kind of reaches them in some way.
Why do you think it's so important to kids to see themselves in the story, in like what they read?
It's so important. I don't think we can underestimate how important that is. I think when I was growing up, the fact that we didn't have that kind of representation in children's books and in the media and on television and radio and, all of these things. And I think it probably subconsciously somewhere gave me the message that our stories are not important, or that we don't exist in stories, and we're almost invisible. And I guess I grew up feeling a little bit like that, like, our stories are not important. And I think, if anything, hopefully what books like this can do is show children that our stories are important. They're just as important as all the other stories, and people do want to read them, and people do want to learn about South Asian culture and read a funny story and go on an adventure and solve a mystery and, look after a pet. And that, we are human, and that's the thing that connects us, isn't it? And so no matter what culture you're from, there'll be something in the story that you can relate to. But for the South Asian child who is seeing themselves for the first time in a book, it's gonna land a little bit differently, and it's gonna be so meaningful to them, even if they don't realize that it's meaningful. And what I find really wonderful now is that there is a whole generation of children that are going to grow up having these books, and that's going to be normal for them. They are able to go to a library or a bookshop and find a book that has a South Asian main character on the cover. That blows my mind, and I just think that can only be a positive thing for all children, really. When I go into schools, I always say, I think it's really important that whoever we are and wherever we're from, that we see ourselves as the main character, as the hero of the story. But also it's equally powerful that we see somebody who's different to us as the main character and the hero of the story, because that too is, it leads to empathy, it leads to understanding. And so both of those things are really, really important.
So, what was your kids' reaction when the book came out, like as a physical form?
Yeah, they're excited. I mean, my kids, when I started, when I was very first published 5 years ago, they were still kind of quite young, and so they were the target audience for my books, and so that was really exciting. And I think they were very proud, and it was quite. I think for my son, I think he's probably over it a little bit now. He's kind of like, yeah, you're an author, that's fine. It's not that exciting anymore. But my daughter and her friends, they're still such a great sort of cheer club, and she's always telling everybody, buy my mum's books. So that's really nice.
Oh, she maybe she can more relate it to Pia.
Yes, maybe. And I think, I've been very lucky. I've got a wide kind of support network with my friends and family as well. And they've been, phenomenal, really, kind of cheering me on.
Yes. So what was it like working with Emma McCain, like in the illustrations and all?
Emma's brilliant. I always say I feel like Emma has a camera inside my brain, because when she illustrates my characters, they just come out like so brilliantly. I'm like, yeah, that's totally what that picture should look like. That is totally what that character should look like. So she's, I feel like she's an illustrating genius, and she adds so much life to the story. Her pictures, they're bringing the story to life. I think illustrated books are so great for young readers. They're great for everybody, really. And I think what she does is she adds a layer of storytelling to the book and brings out, like there's some real kind of comedic moments that she will illustrate that I've not been specific in the text, but she'll bring something out like the smallest detail and it's there in the picture and you just think that's amazing, that's so clever. So yeah, I'm really lucky that I've been working with Emma now on books for 5 years, and I've been really lucky that we seem to have a really good working relationship now. And she's, I feel like we've kind of found a rhythm with each other. So yeah, it's been amazing. I've been really fortunate.
Okay, it's like giving life to what you just imagined in the
Yeah,
stories. Yeah,
yeah, completely.
that's a very like a feeling.
Yeah. It's quite emotional sometimes, actually, when I see the finished sketches and you see them next to the words and you're kind of experiencing it, as one sort of art form, and it's really exciting.
So, do you have a favorite scene or a moment from the book?
A favorite scene. Problem. Don't know. There's a really great scene, actually, where they're trying to train Luna, the puppy that they're trying to train. They're
Okay.
trying to train her to fetch and bring back, and she just has her own ideas about what the game is. And they're kind of they think it's going to be really easy, we'll just tell her to fetch and sit and stay and she'll do it. And Luna has her own ideas, and that was really fun to write and try and imagine what that might be like. So yeah, and just the whole kind of process of them training Luna was really fun to write, because it just goes wrong so many different ways, that Pia hasn't thought of. So that was quite fun to write.
Have you experienced anything at your home, like
Um,
training your own
well,
pet?
our cats are, so I guess it's a bit different having cats than dogs, but yeah, our cats are definitely mischievous. They definitely like to go where they're not supposed to go. Sometimes, so we don't have them upstairs in the house, and so sometimes they have managed to get up the stairs, and then I find them on the landing, and they're sort of looking up at me like, I don't know. I wanted to come up here, but now I'm not sure. Can you rescue me, please? Because they're not quite sure how to get back down again. So yeah, so we've had some funny moments with our cats, definitely.
Even in between interviews or something like that, you have had any encounter with cats? Yeah.
Yeah, so I know sometimes when my husband's been trying to work and he's been on a Zoom call and the cats have been in the room, they've kind of come onto the desk and having a look and trying
Okay.
to get involved.
Yeah. Can you tell us like bit about what's coming next in the Pia's Pet Club series?
Yeah, so the second book is coming out early next year, and it's called Secret Kitten. And in it, Pia will find an abandoned kitten. And she has all good intentions of helping the kitten, but then she gets quite attached to the kitten. And she's kind of trying to figure out how she can find a way to keep the kitten, but keeping it a secret in the meantime. And of course, it doesn't quite go to plan. And then I'm going to be starting to write the third Pia book, which is going to be called Guinea Pig Showtime. And that's going to have a pet talent show in it, and a very competitive cat and guinea pig sort of showdown. So yeah, so that's going to be fun to write as well.
Yeah. I think that will reflect more on kids who love
Yes.
kittens. Okay, finally, would you love to see Pia's adventure turned into a TV show one day?
I mean, that would be amazing. So my first series is being developed for TV. That was the Nisha Accidental Detective, and so that's been really exciting to see the process of how books are turned into television shows. So yeah, definitely. I think when you as a writer, that's the dream, right? Is to kind of have your story translated into all these different mediums. So that would be amazing if Pia was made into a TV show. I could definitely see, the potential for it. So we'll just have to keep fingers crossed and see what happens.
Yeah, it will also create awareness to the children because they are watching it.
Yes, yeah,
Like
definitely.
the definitions of friendship, everything.
Everything, yeah, family,
Yeah.
having a little club with your friends, all of that. And where they set the pet club up, it's in the communal garden at her dad's apartment building. And I could definitely see that visually, on the TV. That would be really nice kind of opportunity, really, to show that sort of sense of community.
Are you like how much on a scale of 10 or 5 you're excited about the book launch and what you're expecting from the audience?
I am excited for the book to be launched. I am also a little bit nervous, I won't lie, because it's the first one in a brand new series. So, it's something different to what I've done before. It's still kind of in that funny genre, but it's not a mystery. It's kind of its own thing, and it's more of a sitcom and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's nerve-wracking because you don't know, are people going to like it as much as they liked your other books? But I've had a few kind of early reviews and they've been really positive. So I'm excited and kind of anxious to kind of see what people think.
What is like it's just for the children or it's also for more like little grown up kids?
Yeah, so we always say with my books, I think kind of, sort of between 5 and 7, reading with an adult, and then 7 upwards, reading independently. And I get readers that go all the way up to 10, 11. So it just depends. I think, I always say, I think read the book that interests you. I don't think
Yes.
we should kind of be too prescriptive around ages. I understand why there are age brackets, but I also think, if you like the look of a book, have a read. I quite often when I do events, I have parents saying, I really enjoyed your book, because they didn't have these kinds of books when they were growing up. So they're getting something out of it. So I just think, if you think you might like it, give it a read, see what you think.
Yeah, it feels like we feel happy when we get the books in our own hand with our own money,
Yeah,
and the perspectives also changed. When we were
yes.
kids, we don't know that much. Now we know everything, and we will do scrutiny when we are reading the book.
Yes, yeah, and I think you can still learn things through books,
Yes,
especially children's books, because I think what children's books do is they're very powerful in terms of opening up the world to readers. I think we never forget the books that we read as children. I always say I think it's the biggest honor to write for children because they are the most important books we ever read, I think. They're the books that stay with us. They're the books we remember. They shape our view of the world. So, I think even as an adult, you can read a children's book and learn something from it. So, it doesn't become any less powerful just because we're a bit older and a bit wiser. I think we can still learn something from them.
yeah. What was your favorite children book you have read? Not yours, like other
When I was
authors. Yes.
so I think when I was growing up, I really loved Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, yeah.
And then as an adult, there's so many. I think children have got such an amazing amount of choice now. I love anything that's funny. I think there's so much beautiful non-fiction now as well. I read a book by a fellow author who's called Rashmi Surdeshpand. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she writes picture books and she writes non-fiction. And she's written this amazing non-fiction book called Amazing Asia. And it's a kind of an encyclopedia all about Asia, and it's illustrated, and it's just the most beautiful book. And me being someone who's South Asian, I learned so much reading that book. All the different kind of cultures and the different communities that are in Asia. We kind of think of Asia as one big sort of continent, and there's so much more to it. And so that was really kind of educational for me, and it was just a really beautiful book. And I thought, isn't it brilliant that we have this for children now?
So, what is your message or something you want to say to young readers and parents?
Um, Something I want to say to young readers and parents. I think books are just so powerful. And I think, you know, you can go anywhere in a book, you can be anyone. And I think that's such a wonderful thing. And it's, you know, something we can enjoy together, something we can enjoy by ourselves, and just, you know, give it a try. If it's not something you're kind of that into, you know, just give it a try. Read anything and everything. You know, I think it all classes as readings. You know, comics, graphic novels, fiction, non-fiction, magazines, newspapers, it's all reading, and it's all giving you something. So yeah, I think just give it a try.
And how was your process like throughout, from start to finish of this book?
So Pia has taken about, from kind of inception of the idea to, you know, being published this week, Pia has taken about 3 years, because it's a brand new series, and the first book in a series always takes a little bit longer because you're really kind of creating from scratch. You know, you're imagining what this family looks like and the kind of setting and how everyone's going to interact with each other. So it's taken a long time. So it doesn't really seem real that it's, you know, we're actually here and, you know, the book's coming out. So it's been a journey, and, you know, there were definitely times when I felt like, I don't know if I can do this, you know, and I think you get that with every book, but definitely this tested me, and, you know, I wanted it to be the best it could be. So, you know, hopefully it is.
Yes. So, how was the support of the family when you were going through ups and downs during the journey of Pia? And you just said that
Yes.
you were like nervous throughout the journey.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
work.
think my family have been really supportive. You know, I've been very fortunate on my writing and publishing journey. I've had a really great support network, and really, you know, I couldn't do my job if they weren't all there supporting me. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, they do. I think they just kind of we've got into a rhythm now of, you know, when I need to edit, and, you know, when I'm out on book events, and yeah, it's, you know, it's like any job, isn't it? You kind of work together as a family to support each other, and yeah, you know, as I say, I'm very, very fortunate.
So, May 8th is the launch of your
It is,
book.
yes.
So, how do you see yourself on May 8th? Like in front of some audience, book
Yeah,
launching?
so I'm on May the 8th, I'm actually traveling down to London, and I'm going to visit a school. And then I'm being interviewed for a podcast. So I'll be out all day on the 8th. And then I've got about 4 weeks of book tour events sort of all over the place. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
So I think that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Serena.
Okay,
Like it's
thank
it's
you.
been so lovely about Pia, the passion for making your journey about Pia, and we can't wait to see Pia's Pet Club on shelves.
Thank
And
you.
and I think I already like badly want to read the book. I hope I'll get hands on the book, and wishing you all the best in the
Thank
launch
you.
and beyond.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.